To a quick little video here today. In order for you guys to sustainably lose the weight, you need to know the basics. You need to know the foundations of training, and you need to know the different kinds of training. So I'm trying to give you guys a better understanding of how training works, what training is right for you, and what you need to be doing to sustainably lose the weight. So let's get started. 3 types of training. So why is this so important? What is performance-based training? Well, performance-based training is really any athletic training, right? So you have athletic training, athletes, you have strength training, which is like powerlifting, you have anything that is measured, strongman, right? You have Olympic lifting, you have, what else goes in here? Performance is CrossFit, CrossFit, right? Performance-based training is really anything that has like a metric barrier. So like for CrossFit, right, you're going for time. Who can do this course the fastest? The athletic training is really about, depending on the sport, swimming is time, track and field is time. Field obviously is not time, it's about obstacle. You have strength training, which of course is like powerlifting. So how strong are you in the 3 major lifts? You have strongman, which is really like these massive guys picking up huge stones and doing all of that. And then you have Olympic lift. The takeaway here is that performance-based training is metric-based, right? So there's either a time constraint, there's either a movement constraint, or there's a level constraint of like strength. Like you have to be able to hit this number, you have to be able to do it in this time, etc., etc. Athletes fall under this category. So for all of you guys who are ex-athletes, this is the kind of training that you guys probably did, performance-based training. This is athletic training, okay? So that's the first one, not too complicated. Okay, the second type of training is going to be body recomposition. What is this? What is body recomposition? Well, you got bodybuilding, weight loss. I'd say like recreational lifting is really body recomposition. And I say recreational because most guys who are going to the gym aren't going to be Mr. Olympia, right? They're not training to be Mr. Olympia. They're not training to be the strongest man in the world. So they're going to feel better, be more confident, maybe be a little stronger here and there. But it's really mainly body recomposition. And this is interesting because how is body recomposition different than athletic training? Well, athletic training doesn't really focus on body fat percentage, right? So body recomposition focuses mainly on body fat. It also focuses on lean muscle mass. So really lean muscle mass, body fat percentage have to really come into play when you're thinking about body recomposition. These are things like what I did. There are whole shows dedicated to just this principle of training. So like body recomposition would be like Biggest Loser, right? You drop a lot of body fat percentage and you gain lean muscle mass. Pretty cool. And actually, we're gonna talk more about this one because I think you already know which one you're gonna be doing. But then we have the third one, the most complex. Oh, it's hard to, I can't really say it's the most complex. It's hard to choose one that's actually more complex than the other because they're different, right? It's like comparing apples and oranges. They're not the same. So this one is going to be functional, okay? So functional training. This is gonna be things like everyday movement. This is also for rehabilitative purposes. When I say everyday movement and rehabilitative movement, so when I was a trainer at Equinox, I had a client who was like 72 and he hadn't touched his toes in like, it was like something crazy, it was something like 20 years or something. So in that case, that would be rehabilitative and everyday movement, right? Like how often do you need to pick something up or how often do you need to bend over to move something? And as you get older, as you age, it's harder and harder to do those things. There are numerous reasons. However, what's important here is to know that this functional training is really about improving everyday movement. How well can you carry your kids? How well can you get up from the floor? How well can you go upstairs, go downstairs? These are all things that are gonna be super important. It's not just everyday movement or rehabilitative movement, but functional training can actually increase strength. It could be a little bit of strength, right? It could also be athleticism, okay? Things like coordination, and then things like, this is gonna be a bigger word, proprioception. So what is proprioception? Proprioception. This one is important. This one's really big for most people. Proprioception is the way that your body is aware in a given space, right? So if you're super clumsy, it means you have poor proprioception. Like if I were talking to you guys and then my foot just hit this thing and it fell over, first of all, I'd cut that. But I would have poor proprioception because I'm not very aware of the limbs in the given space that I'm currently in, right? It's just kind of free flying, free flowing, hitting shit, and it gets crazy. So functional training is going to be important for everyday movement, for rehabilitation in older populations. It's also important strength training, athleticism, coordination, and proprioception. Of course, there's more reasons than these, but it's a start, right? So you know the 3 main types. But let's really talk about the one that you're going to be using for fat loss. We have body recomposition, and then we have functional. Now I know that there are probably more than that. There's probably more than 3. But in the grand scheme of the huge umbrella in which training falls under, there's going to be 3 main pillars in training. You're either going to be doing one of the 3, 2 of them, or all 3 together. Yes, you can have crossover. So like if we're doing performance-based training, right? Like if I'm training for a bobsled competition, right, in the Olympics, that's performance-based. However, it's also functional because you need to do things like sled pushes, which will translate into more functional ability in your everyday life, right? Sled pushes help a lot of things. Body recomposition can also have some crossover here, where you might, because you're in a lower body fat, you can do more performance-based activities. You can do more functional-based activities. You can move more freely. You can pick up your kids easier. You can take the groceries inside a little bit easier, right? You can be stronger. You can feel better. And yeah, there's always going to be some crossover of the 3. Now, the biggest thing that we're going to need to understand for these is this one, body recomposition. This is our guy. Why is body recomposition the one that we need to focus on? Well, to be honest with you, most of us aren't training to be an Olympic athlete. Most of us are not training to be super functional in everyday life. However, although that's important, it starts with body recomposition. Now, there's arguments all over the internet. I'm sure you could ask every single trainer that you know, which one should you start with? And that really comes down to your preference, right? Which came first, the chicken or the egg? And I think when you really think about it, they're both possibilities, and we all know the chicken came first. Body recomposition is going to be our guy. So when we talk about body recomposition, there's just 3 things I want you to remember, okay? And these 3 things are going to be, it's about body fat percentage, it's about lean muscle mass, okay? And it's also because at the end of the day, when you lose a significant amount of body fat and you gain a significant amount of lean muscle mass, you're gonna gain confidence, right? It all leads to more confidence, whether it's with women, showing up for your kids, whether it's for being a better student, whether it's for yourself or your relationships. It matters. Confidence matters at the end of the day. Okay, so body composition is our go-to, body recomp. Now, what does recomposition mean? It means to change your physique, right? It means to lose body fat, to gain lean muscle, because your body is going to look different, even though 2 people are the same weight, right? If you compare, so currently I'm at around 195 pounds. If you compare my weight with somebody who's 195 pounds who doesn't really train, who doesn't really work out, it's gonna look completely different. And the reason is because I've put in the time, I've built the muscle, I've done the work to actually look better and to honestly feel better. So when we're talking about body recomposition, this recomposition part is everything. It's everything. It's how you're gonna lose the weight. It's how you're gonna gain the strength, gain the muscle, and you're gonna feel more confident at the end of the day. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Small little nuggets for you here and there, and I'll catch you in the next one.